Hey, hey, check one, two. All right. Good morning, good evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. Super excited to share this practice with you today. I gave it away in the email that we are going to be working towards bound triangle pose, Baddha Trikonasana. And I'd like you to have a strap nearby as we might use it along the way. Now, in our conversation, we've been talking a lot about the different compartments of the mind. And one of the things that the Yoga Sutras talks about is how to maintain equanimity of the mind. And it asks us to practice these things called the yamas and the niyamas, which are or deprogramming and then reprogramming our mind. And it's usually to do things that are outside of what we normally do, to repattern, to introduce new patterns of the mind that will break through old patterns and start to form balance and equanimity inside. And not to get too deep into what the yamas and niyamas are, I just want to bring up this one conversation of one of the niyamas. Or in other words, like we call it self-training that helps reprogram the mind towards attunement with the universal intelligence. The 5 niyamas, well, let's not go over all 5. Let's just go over the one that I want to talk about today and work with in our yoga practice on and off the yoga mat. And that is, it's called santosha. And santosha is usually translated to contentment and then interpreted as quotes like, it is what it is. And it usually gets practiced as complacency rather than contentment. And here in this book, I think he does a really good job of giving the teaching its fullest power. There's something in all, I think it's not just in yoga, but in all traditions of transformation where we try to change things about ourselves. It's very easy to take and extract little things out of the Yoga Sutras or out of the Bible or out of this or that, whatever guidebook we're using, and then use it in order to remain exactly as we are in defense of our belief systems. We cherry pick the things that really fit the mold of our belief systems or our thought patterns or emotional patterns. And then we say, hey, see, even the Yoga Sutras says it this way. We should all just be content with the way things are. You can really easily use this practice of santosha as a weapon to stay exactly who you are. And what I've been trying to kind of poke and prod at with our practice as a community, as we come together in this group, is not to use the Yoga Sutras as a weapon to remain the same, but to take the teachings and apply them to our own life so that we can have that ultimate transformation, change, and growth internally, and also apply that externally as well. And again, this is called, we were talking about the path to Viveka, from avidya, ignorance, through the 8 limbs of yoga around to viveka, which is that compassionate living, taking what we gain from our yoga practice and bringing it back into the world. So here's why I think this one is important. I'm going to read it straight out to you so I don't mess with his words too much, and then I'll explain. Santosha is being content with one's karma and dharma. It is acceptance of what is. When you recognize a challenge and accept it as your karma, you can stop struggling with it and start living in alignment with your dharma. So when you recognize a challenge and accept it as your karma, as your work, in other words, or as the actions that you need to take, then you can stop struggling and start living in alignment with your dharma. So he has a note here that will be helpful with karma and dharma for us. But I just really want to highlight that line, because when Santosha is being content with one's karma and dharma, you could say Santosha is contentment, and then flip it and say, like, well, so why make any changes at all? We should just be content with the way things are. This highlights the beauty of the teaching, that it's contentment with our work, with what we need to do in order to push forward, to grow, to change, to transform. It's being content with the road ahead. It's being content with the challenges that we face in our life, being content with the discord or the disharmony or the feelings of all the emotional states within us that we face on a day-to-day basis, being content that they are a part of the whole process of moving forward in our life, not complacent to just allow things to happen as they are. The word, and here's his notes to help us with karma and dharma so we have a better understanding. Okay, the word karma refers to the activities and experiences of your life. It is all the challenges you face and the actions you take in response to those challenges. So karma is all of the challenges, a collection of all of the challenges that we face and the actions that we take in response to those challenges. I feel like I got to say that again. Karma, okay, it's the collection of the challenges that we face and the actions that we take in response to those challenges. That is karma. The word dharma refers to the structure of your life, including your family, nationality, cultural, I don't know what that word means. Something about your culture that you grew up in, natural skill set, and other circumstances, all which give rise to your path and purpose in life. So yeah, usually dharma is referred to your purpose and your path that you take in the journey of your life. And that includes all of the structural systems that we live within, including our family and society, and our purposeful path that we take along the way. So we want to, when we talk about Santosha, we want to be reminded that it's being content with the challenges that we faced and the actions that we have to take in order to live in the fullest alignment of our dharma, our life's purpose, which I assure you all is not to be complacent with the way things are, but rather to push forward, to transform, to change, to grow, to expand into our highest potential as individuals, as a society, as a group here of yogis practicing together. And how I personally feel so strongly about that is through the observance of nature. I've yet to witness anything in nature, even even a rock is constantly changing. What seems so solid, right? Everything in nature is constant change, growth, expansion, and then eventually shrinking back down to death and transformation. And then the process reliving itself over and over and over again. So if we are stagnant, meaning if we are complacent and we just try to sit in the stillness of, that's the wrong word, sorry, stillness is beautiful, but we try to sit in the stagnance of nothing, of no change, then that's where we're going to feel incredibly out of alignment, where our life's purpose will feel, we won't feel connected to our life's purpose, our path. We'll feel completely off of the path. But as soon as we step on the path and start taking actions that are in alignment with the heart, the truth of who we are as humans, that means accepting the challenges that we face on the yoga mat, accepting the challenges that we face outside in the real world, in our family life, at our work life, accepting the challenges, not being complacent, being content with the challenges that we face. Okay, so I really wanted to just bring that in, and that's the conversation around Santosha, and one that I feel is so often misinterpreted, to be just content with all that, with things as the way they are, without the desire to make a shift. So it could be very easy to be content with, that's just the way I am. How often have you heard somebody's ego say that? That's just the way I am. That's the ego speaking, saying, I've defined myself this way. Don't you dare change the walls of my ego. Or don't challenge my identity. That's how I am. That's who I am. That's not true. That is not who any of us are. If we are so bound to the walls that the ahamkara has created, that the identity, the ego is, then we will feel stuck. We will not feel in alignment with our purpose. So this whole month has been about that flexibility of our ego, flexibility and that ability to transform our identity to something much bigger than just the small little self, the roles that we play, but to something much bigger, and the willingness to step fully into that. And so this is why I bring in Santosha, the contentment to our dharma and our karma, to take actions based on our intentional desire to transform, change, grow, shift, to stay in complete, the best of our ability, alignment with our dharma, a life's purpose. So, and this goes hand in hand with one of the previous practices that we talked about, where I think it was like 3 practices ago, I talked about tapas, and that is one of the niyamas. Tapas is okay, so cool, now you're content with the challenges ahead. Once you step into those challenges, what you face is the tapas, the heat, the burning, the friction, the intensity of being in those challenges. Okay, so I thought that would be nice to know that tapas is one of the niyamas. It's one of the practices that we try to reprogram the mind to santosha, accept the challenges, and tapas, to embrace, or eventually embrace, but to also to endure the intensity of the challenges of what happens when we start taking action. Okay, so thank you all so much for tuning in today, and I hope you got your strap, and I hope this has been somewhat inspirational here, to remember that I'm going to say it one last time, because I feel like repetition is the key to growth and expansion. Repeating what is most important to us and gets us further on our path. So when you recognize a challenge and accept it as your karma, when you recognize a challenge and accept it as your karma, your actions, you can stop struggling with it and start living in alignment with your dharma. Bam! Thank you. Love that. All right, let's get into it today. We'll start with knees wide, child's pose. Do a fairly traditional warm-up, a little bit more vinyasa style, more movement to get into the hips. At least that's my plan. Never know with me. Take a full breath in through the nose.
Exhale it out. Inhale fully. Exhale fully. One more breath here through the nose. Come forward to all fours, hands and knees. Arch the back and look up.
Exhale, round, child's pose.
2 more, same way. Inhale forward, arch, look up. Grip your fingers into the ground, warm up the wrists.
Exhale, back, child's pose.
Fingers still gripping, getting the wrist warmed up. One more time here. Inhale, arch, look up.
Exhale, round.
Inhale forward, all fours, arch, look up.
Now exhale, bend the elbows, lower all the way to the ground.
3 cobras to start us off. Inhale, lift the heart up, just small ones.
Lift the hands up. Exhale, release.
Inhale, lift the heart up.
Exhale, release.
One more. Inhale, lift the heart up.
Exhale, release.
We press to all fours. Inhale. Tuck the toes. Exhale. Lead with your tailbone up. Downward facing dog. Take a full breath in. And out. Shift forward, plank pose. Grip your fingers into the ground. Inhale. Exhale, knees down, child's pose. Inhale, all fours, hands and knees, arch.
Lean forward as you exhale, lower, chaturanga.
Cobra, no hands. Inhale, lift the heart up.
Exhale, downward facing dog, press back and up.
Plank pose, inhale. Fingers grip the ground. Exhale, knees down, child's pose. Inhale, forward, all fours, arch.
Lean forward, lower, chaturanga.
Inhale, lift the heart, lift the arms.
Exhale, downward facing dog.
One more round. Inhale, forward, plank pose. Exhale, child's pose, hips to heels. Inhale, all fours, arch, look up.
Lean forward, lower, chaturanga.
Inhale, lift the heart, lift the hands.
Down dog, press the hands into the ground, hips up and back.
Right leg comes to the sky. Inhale. Knee to nose, round the back. Exhale. Inhale, back and up, 3-legged dog. Step right foot forward. Exhale. Come up onto your fingertips. Take a breath in. Exhale it out. Now we got to warm up our muscles of our legs. So pull your 2 feet toward each other. Isometrically get the inner thighs and hamstrings of the front leg active. Okay, with that activation, press your front buttocks down into your heels. So from the butt, press into your heels so you feel your glute muscles fire up and lengthen through the top of the head. Let's take a full breath in here. Exhale it out. Now get lighter in the fingertips. Inhale, a little bit lighter. Exhale, a little tuck of the tailbone. One more breath in. Exhale, down dog, hips back and up. Forward plank pose, inhale. Knees wide, child's pose, exhale. All fours, inhale, arch.
Chaturanga as you exhale.
Now interlace the hands behind your back. Slide them to your low back. Shrug your shoulders towards your ears, and then squeeze your shoulder blades toward each other. Inhale, lift the arms up to the sky and lift the heart up. Hold here as you exhale. Press your pelvis down into the ground, reach your toes back. Inhale, lift a little higher. Exhale, soften a bit on the exhale, relax just a little bit. One more breath. Inhale, lift up. Maybe lift the feet up if you'd like. Exhale and release. Inhale to all fours. Exhale, buttocks up and back, down dog. Left leg to the sky. Inhale. Knee to chest. Exhale, round the back, plank. Inhale, back and up, three-legged dog. Exhale, step forward. Up on the fingertips, we start to warm up. We take a full breath in and out. Pull your feet toward each other dramatically so you feel a rise in the hips. And from your left sit bone, buttock region, a little tuck underneath and press down into the heel so you really fire up the leg there. And as you press down into the heel, get lighter in the fingertips so we start to warm up the hips even more. Lengthen through the top of the skull. Last breath, inhale. Get lighter, get lighter. Exhale, down dog. Forward plank, inhale. Exhale, child's pose, hips to heels. Inhale, forward, all fours, arch. Exhale, lean forward and lower. We're going to take the other interlacing of the hands. So non-dominant grip, other pinky on the outside. Slide the hands to the low back. You can watch me if you're not sure where that is. Okay, then you shrug your shoulders towards your ears and then toward each other. So toward the ears and then toward each other in the back side. So your shoulder blades are together. Now reach the hands up to the sky. Press your pelvis down, lift the heart up. Let's take 3 breaths. Inhale. The exhales are for softening. Really reach the arms up so you fire up the rear deltoids, the muscles of the back of the shoulders. Inhale, lift up. Soften a little bit. You can lift the feet up if you like on this last round, but lift the heart up nice and tall. Exhale and release. Release the hands. Place the hands all fours. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg to the sun. Inhale. Bend the knee, open up the hip this time as you exhale. Full breath in here. Full breath out. Straight leg, inhale, square hip. This time knee to opposite, no, sorry, not opposite. Knee to armpit, same side. Inhale, back and up. Step forward as you exhale. Now you're going to keep the back heel lifted, but walk the fingertips inside. Bend the back knee for a moment like you're about to do kind of some sort of sprint. Lift your butt up and out to the side. So your pubic bone goes back slightly. This will deepen. It'll help to rotate the pelvis in order to bow. Now, once you bow, start to straighten the back leg again and lift the back heel upwards. So your hips are nice and tall. This is going to increase the range of motion at the pelvis, the anterior tilt that is. Now with that, you'll probably feel that you're kind of collapsing in your front hip, kind of relaxing into it. I'd like you to activate the muscles of your front hip. So press your right heel down and really fire up the buttock muscles on the right side and try to press your right knee out a little to the side. Those are going to activate your abductor muscles. Hold there, full breath in. Full breath out. Let's do another breath in. Hips up high. And a breath out. Pull your feet a little toward each other. Lift the hips. Inhale. All right. Walk the hands back to center. Together, inhale, straighten the front leg and flex the foot. Look forward. Exhale, bow. Inhale, bend the front knee. Now let's come up to high lunge. Press your front heel down. Reach the arms up to the sky. Full breath in here. Full breath out. Okay, press through your right heel, lift the heart, lift the belly, take it back just like a little back bend. Exhale, release the hands. Now, same thing. Straighten the front leg, flex the foot, and look forward. Exhale and bow forward. Bend the front knee. Step to downward facing dog as you exhale. Inhale, forward plank pose. Chaturanga Dandasana. Slide the hands wide this round, fingertips. Inhale, round the back. Soften as you exhale. Inhale, lift the heart up. Forward with the chest. Exhale, release. Come to all fours. Inhale. Tuck toes. Exhale, down dog. Left side up on the in-breath. Bend the knee, open up the hip, hold. Enjoy your full breath in here. And out. Straighten the leg, inhale, square the hip. Left armpit, exhale, knee high, high, high. Inhale, back and up. Step forward as you exhale. Okay, now we walk the hands to the inside of the left foot and bend the right knee for a moment. And what this will help you to do is tip your pelvis more into an anterior tilt. This is one of the questions was what's the point of moving the groins back? In this particular case, there's multiple postures where it's beneficial. But in this case, if you move your groins back and up, what happens as a result is your pelvis tips more into anterior tilt, which will become more of a deeper stretch of the left hip muscles. Now we want that, but we also want to fire up those hip muscles so we're not just stretching them. So firm up your back quads now, keep your hips high, and press your left buttock muscles with your butt up and out to the side. Press from your left buttock muscles down into your outer left heel. And what you should feel is a release of the stretch sensation, or at least a little bit. You are definitely still stretching, but you may not feel the stretch sensation, which is a reflex that tells you, your body's trying to tell your mind that something might be wrong. That's what stretch sensation is. But when you activate a muscle, your body understands that you're doing it on purpose and that you're in control, and it feels safer that way. So we activate the muscles while we are stretching. Now press your left knee out to the side with your hips up. So your abductors, your outer hips engage while still pressing your left heel down. Again, Santosha is the contentment with the actions that we need to take to stay in direct alignment with our life's purpose. And if one part of our purpose is to stay healthy, to stay strong, to keep our body supple, to love and care for it, then the small little actions we need to take right now are just activating our muscles. It's very simple on that path, and it gets harder as we take it outward off the yoga mat. All right, coming on out. We start with a straight leg forward fold. So inhale, straighten the front leg and flex the foot, look forward. Exhale and bow. Now as we inhale, bend the front knee and use your buttocks again to press down, rise, high lunge. And hold here for a moment as you exhale. Press your left sit bone under the pose and lift the belly up. Start to lift the gaze up, and we take one more big breath. Lift the belly, lift the heart, reach the hands back, stretch the abdomen, and then exhale, hands to the earth. Inhale, straighten the front leg again, flex the foot, and exhale, bow. Inhale, bend the front knee. Step to down dog as you exhale. Forward to plank pose, inhale. Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide. Inhale, round the back. Exhale, heart goes forward. It melts between the shoulder blades. Shoulder blades stay back, and then the heart pulls forward towards the front of the mat. Lift up through the skull. Exhale and release. Plank on the inhale. Exhale, down dog. All right, now that we're warming up a little bit, let's take a few breaths and observe the sensations of the body. One of the things about contentment, Santosha, being the contentment to being on this path to face the challenges as a yogi in our physical body is to appreciate what happens through observation. When you observe what you've created from your actions, it inspires you to take further actions. In other words, it inspires you to keep walking on the path. If you don't ever observe what the challenges have created for you because you're exhausted or you feel like running away from the intensity of it, then you very easily will step off the path. You'll have excuses as to why it's best not to. But when you observe the benefits that you gain from the challenges you face, there's no denying it. And the truth will keep you on your path. Lift the heels up on the inhale. Walk, step, hop if you wish to the front of the yoga mat. Take an inhale, halfway lift when you get there. And exhale, bow. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale and bow. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bow. Inhale, rise to the sun, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands to the heart, Samastitihi. And now when we rise up to the sun for Urdhva Hastasana today, I really like to work the shoulder muscles to heat them up, to warm them up. And so I'm going to ask you to really lift the shoulders up towards the ears, press the pinky side edge of the palms together, and straighten the elbows. So I'm going to step back to make sure you can see. Let me just take a glance at it's a little delayed, so give it a second. Yeah, okay. So, instead of lifting the arms up casually like this, where there's space here, I'd like you from the shoulder blades to really reach up. So there's a real expression from your breath all the way through your bones. And then you're going to press the pinky side edge of your palms into one another, which is going to ignite the external rotators of your shoulder, your rotator cuff. And this way, those external rotators, when they ignite, they'll start to heat up and warm up so that when we go to internally rotate our arms in the bind, they'll be more supple and ready to stretch. Okay, so again, when your arms go up, you're going to press the pinky side edge of your palms into one another as you reach up through the pinky. So pinky side edge of the palms is going to activate the external rotators of the rotator cuff muscles. Okay, so ready for it? It's going to be a little bit intense, but again, we're going to strengthen these muscles, which is a great thing, but also heat them up and prepare them for the internal rotation that we do when we bind. Okay, so inhale, reach the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Now, arms a little in front of the face, press the pinky edge of the palms together, and really reach up. Really reach the shoulders up towards the ears. Okay, so it's elevating the scapula. Full breath in. Exhale, bow to the earth. Halfway lift on the inhale. Step the left foot back. But today we're going to do Virabhadrasana 1. So what I'd like you to do is have your heels hip width apart. Not your toes, but your heels hip width apart. So like if you ran down the lines, you would see that if you stepped your left foot forward, you'd be hip width apart with your heels. Your back toes facing as far forward as you can without collapsing the back arch. Now, press your right heel down and rise up. Now, most people in Warrior One are trained to put the weight in the back leg. What that does is it puts pressure in the anterior joint capsule of the left hip here. So instead of doing that, we put the weight in the leg that has muscle activation, which is the bent knee. So you lean forward actually in this pose until your, let's say the solar plexus, the middle of your back, your rib cage region, okay, is about vertical. So the whole low back is on the same angle as the back leg, and then you start arching as you rise up. Now, take your thumbs underneath your armpits, like so, and pick your shoulders up to the sky on both sides, and lift your belly and waistline up away from the pelvis. Okay, so you're rising, rising, rising. Now, rotate the palms, rotate the arm bones externally, and reach upward. Again, pinky side edge of the palms press together and rise up with the shoulders. Elevate your scapula.
Press the pinky edge of the palms into one another. So it's not just kind of putting them together, but actively pressing the pinky edge of the palms into each other. Lean forward from the midsection and start to breathe, looking up at the thumbs. Pinky side edge of the palms, press in. One more breath here. Okay, and then release the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers at the low back. Slide the shoulders up to the ears, then back. Now reach the hands back behind you. Take a full breath in. Steer the ship a little to the left. So tailbone goes to the right, torso and belly button to the left. Bow inside of your right knee, humbled warrior. Holding here, try to reach the arm bones away from the chest. So reach the hands away from your heart towards the back side of the posture. Reach away from you. Hold, straightening the elbows to really activating the triceps as you reach the arms. Let's do 3 more breaths. Press your front heel down so you don't overstretch in the hamstrings of the buttocks. Inhale. 1 more breath here. And then release the hands on either side of the front foot. Let the blood come back into the hands first. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, lower chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips. Inhale. Soften as you exhale. Heart pulls through your shoulders. Inhale, lift the heart up. Exhale, release. Plank or all fours. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing Adho Mukha Svanasana. 3 breaths together. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Lift the heels up on the inhale. Look forward. Empty the breath out. Hop or step. Halfway lift. Inhale. Exhale and bow. To the sun, rise up. Urdhva Hastasana. Hands to the heart. Samastitihi. Inhale, reach all the way up. Exhale, bow to the earth. Uttanasana. Halfway lift. Inhale. Right foot steps back, but again, heels are hip width apart, so widen the feet side to side. The back toes are facing about 45 degrees forward, slight diagonal. Press through from your left sit bone, comes underneath and then down into the heel, so rise up. Again, instead of leaning back and putting the pressure into the front of the groin muscle and hip joint of the back leg, lean forward and take the pressure off of the back groin. Okay, lift the belly up. Use your thumbs as little self-adjustments to get the sides of the rib cage and shoulders to rise up. This will help trigger transverse abdominals. So you can watch me if you're not sure. So here I can kind of just be lazy about it or watch. I can be expansive about it. And that's what I'd like you to go for today. Lifting, lengthening, shoulders rising, the upper trapezius muscles firing. Then take your palms together in front of your face and press. Again, pinky edge of the palms together. So we really try to rotate the biceps away from each other, the pinkies into each other. Let's hold here. 3 more. Take the hands behind the back, non-dominant grip. Interlace the other pinky on the outside. Shoulders go up and back. Reach the hands away from you. Again, you're going to steer the ship a little bit so that you can clear the inside of your left thigh. So you don't want to be on top of it like this. You want to be inside of it so you can bow inside. Again, we're going towards bound side. Bound triangle pose today. And that would require that our torso is actually inside of the left thigh. So go more to the right. For a lot of you, it's going to be harder than you expect. Okay, now once you're down here in this deep
hip opener. Press your left heel into the ground and fully breathe. And as you're doing this, reach through your hands like you're trying to reach your arms further away from your back. And hopefully what you feel is your shoulder blades start to climb inward toward one another through these muscles called the rhomboids. Let's do one more enjoyable breath in. Okay, and then exhale. Hands to the ground. Blood comes back into the hands for a moment. Inhale to plank pose. Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips. Inhale round. Soften. Lift the belly forward with the chest. Exhale, release. All fours or plank pose. Inhale. Tailbone guides you up into downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Again, observing what you create from your actions. Tapas is the ability to stay in the fire, the heat of the challenges that we face. Santosha is the content with the challenges. Acknowledging that the struggles that we face on and off the mat are part of our life's path, part of our life's purpose. Accepting that the hills and the mountains that we climb are actually there for us, not against us. They're there for our personal transformation, awakening, and expansion. The challenges we face are what makes us stronger. They are in our way so that we can get stronger. So in fact, they have been placed for us. Lift the heels up, inhale, look forward. Empty it out, hop or step. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, bow. To the sunrise, Urdhva Hastasana. To the heart. Inhale, rise, little flow. Exhale, bow, Uttanasana. Halfway lift, inhale. Step or hop back, Chaturanga. Slide the hands, fingertips, inhale, round. Exhale, soften. Pull the heart through, inhale, lift the heart up. Exhale, release. Plank, inhale. Exhale, down dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Knee to armpit, up high, so outer shoulder, actually better said. Inhale, back and up. Step right foot forward. Warrior 1, inhale, rise up. Press the pinky edge of the palms together. Look up. Exhale, hands behind the back. Inhale, prepare the shoulders. Lift them up and reach them back. Lift the heart. Exhale, bow to the inside of your leg. Release the hands. Inhale, plank pose. Chaturanga. Slide hands wide. Inhale, round. Softness. Heart through the shoulders and up. Exhale. Plank, push up. Exhale, down dog. Left side up and back. Outer armpit. Exhale, upper shoulder. Inhale, back and up. Step. Warrior 1, Virabhadrasana 1, rise. Exhale, hands behind the back. Prepare the shoulders. As you inhale, shoulders go up and back. Reach the hands. Exhale, bow inside the left leg. Place the hands. Gracefully come to plank. Exhale, Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide. Inhale, round. Soften. Inhale, forward with the chest and up. Exhale, release. Plank pose, inhale. Exhale, down dog. Enjoy a full breath in. Full breath out. with your tailbone, try to tip it upward to the sky. So imagine you have strings on your sit bones pulling upward to the sky, which will allow the hamstrings to rise a little in the backside. Two more breaths. One more breath. Now on this inhale, lift the heels and look forward. Empty the breath out, hop or step lightly to the front. Half lift, inhale. Exhale and bow. Bend knees, chair pose, hands on the thighs for a moment. Lift the toes up. Again, let's find those abductor muscles. So many of you appreciated finding those the other day. So we press the heels outward. And when you press the heels out, you'll feel your knees kind of roll in a little bit. That's okay. That's internal rotation of the femurs. And what happens there when you internally rotate the thighs is there's greater joint space at the, typically what it does is create more joint space, allowing for more greater ability to tip the pelvis accordingly. So you move the knees back, press the backs of the heels apart. Now lift the heart up to form the arch of the low back. Forming the arch of the low back, lift the belly up. Now, can you micro tuck your sit bones like you're tucking your tailbone without necessarily, moving your pelvis? So I'd like you to keep your pelvis as it is. But imagine you're going to tuck your tailbone and just do so from the strength of your buttocks against the strength of your low back. So they're actually balancing one another out. Holding that, lift the belly up, lift the arms up. Can you place your palms together in front of your face? It's harder here because you have to really lift the chest up. Lift the back of the heart, lift the front of the heart up, and now press the pinky edges of the palms together. 3 more breaths. Hips go back. Press the heels apart. Stay lifted. Press your pinky edge of your palms together. 1 more breath. Reach. Exhale. Bow to the earth. Uttanasana. Halfway lift. Inhale. Step or hop. Chaturanga. Cobra pose. Slide the hands wide. Inhale round. Soften. Shoulders go back behind the chest. Keep the shoulders back, the chest forward. Lift it up, but keep it forward. And release. Plank, inhale. Exhale. Down dog. Let's go right leg high. Inhale. Step forward as you exhale. This time, high lunge, rise all the way up. Inhale. Open up. Virabhadrasana 2. A great question. If you place your hands to your hips, great question in the group, in the Facebook group was, why do we move our groins back? Why not, what is most easy for most of us humans is falling into our patterns, which is to press the pelvis forward like this, okay? So the pelvis, when it presses forward, why that's easier is because now the tension of our muscles or the ligaments that hold our femur bone from popping forward is what's holding us in this position here. And it causes, over time, loosening of those ligaments and overstretching of the tendons where the muscles attach to the bone. Okay. And then once the femur kind of gets loose in the hip socket, then it can knock around in there, causing these little bony spurs, which could then impinge the hip and cause a lot of pain. So instead of it's a rule of thumb for all joints. Instead of kind of pressing into your joints like so, you use your muscles and you move your joints out of their end range. So if you move this thigh bone back and think about how wide this is in the front leg, you notice how abducted it is. It's already at its end range, so we move it back away from its end range, okay? But because the pubic bone has these muscles called the adductors attached to even the inner knee, we have to still now activate your buttock muscles in the front leg. So press your outer right heel down and activate your glute muscles here. Fire them up, and your knee will spin back out while the groins are back. Now that's hard, but you can imagine sitting in a chair back there. Now there's more, your thigh bones are more like this instead of all the way out like this at their end range, but now you can actually start to strengthen your muscles. Okay, come on up and switch sides. Pivot the back, the left foot to the back, and bend the knee. Now try it on this side. Send your pelvis forward, groins and pelvis to the front. And you'll also feel there's like a weird, if you do this, if you press your pelvis forward, you'll feel that the sacrum kind of gets in there's a bone between your pelvis called the sacrum, and it kind of pinches inward for a lot of people when you press the pelvis forward like this with gravity. If you move the groins back, it frees up the sacrum back there. Okay, so the sacrum can breathe, and the two sides of your ilium, your pelvis, can kind of pry apart. Now, keeping the groins backward, the hard part is, again, the adductors. I hope you're still in the pose because it's part of the practice. The adductors here that run down and connect to the inner shin are going to pull the knee like so because they're tight. So that's okay. We don't necessarily need to open them so much, but we do want to activate the gluteus maximus and the deep external rotators of the front hip. So keeping the groins back like you're going to sit in a chair, bend the front knee, and then press your outer left heel down and fire up so it's an actual rotation of the front femur bone outward. Okay, so it's spiraling outward, and you'll start really firing up the buttocks. Hopefully you're starting to feel that. Okay, now what I tend to do, you can do a number of things here that are all beneficial depending on your body patterns, but what I like to do is pull my feet toward each other. The legs are already out, they're already abducted, they're already apart. So by squeezing inward, you create a facilitated stretch, activating the muscles that are stretching, which not only creates greater intelligence of the muscular system, but also develops greater flexibility. Okay, let's take one more breath in here. Keep pressing the outer heel down, groins back, and then rise up. Okay, so that was an excellent question. If you have any other questions, please post them in the Facebook group, and I'll continue to try and support that. So the reason I chose bound Trikonasana today was because it really requires moving the groins back quite a bit in order to get the greatest amount of flexibility at the pelvis. So if the pelvis sends forward, you put yourself at your end range, but then you would actually lose range of motion when tipping into Trikonasana. So I'm going to show you another way. First, bend the knee and move the groins back. Now, keeping the groins back, you actually initiate from the groins back a tip of the pelvis, and you take your fingertips to the ground. Now, pause for a second, okay, and then move your groins back more and pull your feet toward each other. So hips go back towards the wall behind me, or whatever's behind you. Hips go back. Now you'll feel your front knees winging in. That's an indication of how tight the adductors are and how not active the glute muscles are. So can you press your outer heel down? I usually lift the front of the foot up and try that. Press the outer heel down and then drag it back towards the back foot so your hips lift up. Keeping that, start to tip at your pelvis even further so you get greater range of motion out of the pelvis. It will feel like it's limiting range of motion because you're probably not used to activating muscles through range of motion. Most of us are either active or we're passive. We're not usually active throughout range of motion in yoga because we've been trained to relax a lot of the times. So this might be new territory for you, and that's okay. See if you can try it on over time. You'll get better and better at activating through range of motion. Okay, and then come on up. Let's come over the back side of the pose. Actually, let's just come all the way up for a second and let it be official. We'll turn the back heel out, bend the front knee, and again, we'll tend to send the pelvis forward when we do this. Move the hips back, and then you'll start to see your adductors will pull on the knee. So that's where you have to activate your gluteus maximus and the deep external rotators of your buttocks, including your piriformis is one of the muscles that you have to activate. So a lot of people have piriformis syndrome, which is usually a weakness and tension of that muscle, and that causes pressure on the sciatic nerve because it's usually inflamed. This is one way to start to strengthen and make that muscle more supple. So your hips go back and press the outer heel down, start to strengthen those external rotators that rotate the thigh bone outward like this. Okay, now you might have to place the elbow down first and then your fingertips. Okay, and then once you take a little weight off the legs, you can pull your 2 feet toward each other. And as you pull your feet toward each other, sit back a little bit in order to bow the pelvis forward. Now, press your outer heel down and don't be afraid to wiggle a little around the pelvis. I'm not saying you can't move in the pose, just saying stay active or at least reactivate as needed once you feel like you're about to go deeper, then you can go deeper and then reactivate your muscles. Okay, so pull your feet toward each other and press your heel down. This is not about limiting range of motion. It's about actually increasing it, but doing so from a place of, I don't want to say necessarily safety, because you could get injured no matter what you do, but it's from a place of awareness, from a place of intention, of connecting to your muscular system through the mind. Okay, so you're pulling your feet toward each other and pressing the outer left heel down while moving the groins back and bowing forward. All right, and then come on up. Rise up. And let's take Prasarita Padottanasana. Move the feet back. Place the hands to the hips. Squeeze the shins toward each other and spiral the thighs inward. And when you turn your thigh bones inward, here's what's interesting, is the internal rotation of the thigh bones will tip the pelvis into anterior tilt. So when you turn your thighs in, the groins go back and the pelvis tips. So you have greater range of motion as you bow. And what you can do here is actually push the heels for more, before you do anything, actually, for more range of motion, you push the heels outward and you'll feel your buttocks expands in the back and the pelvis tilts more into anterior tilt. That's for more range of motion, those of you who are feeling more stiff. For more stability, so if you're feeling very open, then you can squeeze your feet toward each other and start micro tucking the tailbone so you don't overstretch the hamstrings. Now, me personally, I do all of those. I know it's very hard to implement more than one muscle activation at a time when you're just learning them. So that's why I give you some options here. Okay, so the idea is you can press the backs of your legs apart for more range of motion and lift the buttocks up, sending the groins back. Again, that will increase the stretch. So if you're feeling overly stretched, then squeeze your shins toward each other and micro tuck the sit bones. That will diminish the stretch sensation, and it will also start to develop health and integrity of the muscles that are stretching. So both actions are important. It just depends on where you're at right now. All right, and come on up. Squeeze in and rise up. All right, so let's step back to downward facing dog for a moment and give the legs a break, the adductors a break. Take a full breath in. Observe what you've created. Stick the buttocks up. One more full breath in. All right, left side up, inhale. And exhale, step forward. Push down, rise, high lunge. Open up, warrior two. Now let's take side angle on this side. Similar, sorry, hope I didn't make a noise by holding the transmitter there. Move your hips back, groins back, and pull your feet toward one another. Okay, so hips back, groins back toward one another in order to place your left hand on the inside of your left foot today. And this is particular for doing the bound position. Now you're going to see when you move your groins back, yeah, it's probably easier to get your left hand on the ground, but your left knee again is going to wing in and press in. So press your left heel down and rotate the left thigh bone out. Now keeping that rotation out, so you can take your left palm onto the ground. Some of you might be able to lobster claw behind the heel today, or even flip your hand around, why not, and start to open up. Flipping the hand around and rotating your bottom bicep forward towards the front of the mat. That's going to be external rotation to warm up, again, the external rotators. Keep rotating the left bicep as much as you can towards the front of the mat, or even further towards the leg, and turn the chest. Okay, so here we are in side angle variation. Take your top arm up. Press your left outer heel down. A little bit of a back bend to finish off the posture. Press your left heel down. And right hand to the hip. Press down, rise up. Woo, yeah. Let's switch sides. Okay, bend the right knee. Place the right forearm So I can clear my transmitter. Okay, move the groin. Here, you know what? Don't move the groins back. Move the groins forward for a second. And then as you move your pelvis forward, just exaggerate it so you can feel it. Then reach the hand to the inner foot and see how much harder it will be. Okay, move the groins back, and you'll see that your pelvis, instead of collapsing into itself, clears the thigh bone and gives you space to get down there. Now, again, you have fingertips, option 1, or if you can, rotate the palm. You can go behind here, or rotate the palm all the way back so that you're starting to externally rotate, but really actively rotate the bicep. So don't just kind of put it there and let the mat hold you there. Actively rotate your upper arm externally so you start to stretch those muscles. And we start to turn the chest away. As you turn the chest away from the leg, press your right heel down, activating the buttock muscles. Your left arm can go up to the sky. The bottom arm is still trying to externally rotate, activating the rotator cuff muscles, warming them up, heating them up, specifically the external rotators. Press your outer right heel down. And then finish the pose with a few breaths and a little more of a back bend. Use the upper back muscles. All right. Hands to the hips and rise up. You can stay exactly whatever way you're facing. I'm just going to face you for make this easier. You're going to bend your knees, both feet wide, and take your hands on your inner knees. With your hands, press your knees apart. With your knees, squeeze into your hands so you see your hips kind of lift a little bit. Okay, so you squeeze in with your hands, activating the adductors, your inner thighs. Now here's the tricky part. Pull your outer edges of your feet toward each other so your hamstrings ignite. I probably need me to say that again. Pull your outer edges of your feet toward each other until you feel your hamstrings engage. Like you're trying to wipe your feet on a rug, but both of them. Okay. Then lift your heart and take your arms out to the side. Keep pulling the outer heels inward, spinning the thigh bones outward. Take the arms out to the sides. Move your pelvis back. Press your heels down. Pull them toward one another. And rise up. Brilliant. Turn the toes in, heels out. Push outward with the legs and bow. This time, if you'd like, I'd like you to interlace the hands, non-dominant grip, and take a stretch of the shoulders again for Sarita Padottanasana. All right, hands to the ground. Before we get into our bound triangle pose, come to a seated position, wide on the mat, and we'll take Janu Shirshasana, one of the first poses we did this month. If not, maybe it was the first one, I'm not sure. You take one hand on the knee and take the right elbow. So my right leg is out to the side. So if you're the same, then it's the right elbow to the inside. Curl back like a back bend. And see if you can kind of lay your chest down a little bit without this knee popping up so much. So if the knee's popping up, it's totally okay. Just actively reach it wide, push it outward. And then the top arm can go behind the head. Sometimes I even take the bottom hand behind the head like so and lay back just like this. Now the right leg, the straight leg, reach the inner knee or inner thigh, I should say, inner hamstrings to the ground. Okay, so you activate your quads. One more breath. All right, come on up. Now, here's what you're going to do. You're going to turn towards your bent knee side, and with your left arm, spin it internally and let the shoulder climb over your chest. Then see if you can reach it back around and grab your pants or shirt or whatever you got back there. I'm trying to avoid the transmitter as always. And then with your other hand, hold the knee the best of your ability and open twist here with a half bind.
Firm up the right leg and lean away from your bent knee, the best of your ability. All right, come on up. Switch the sides. Bring the heel in. All right, and then so firm. You see how the toes are flexed. They're not. A lot of people will kind of hook the foot in like this, and that's an unconscious tension of the soleus muscle or the what's called the tibialis posterior. You're going to try to activate so the big toe reaches forward, the fibularis muscles activate, and then firm up the quads and press the inner leg to the ground. And then you can tip a little bit forward first, then place the elbow to the ground, turn the chest, and again, hand behind the head. Also option for the bottom hand to support. Let's stretch the side waistline here and the inner thighs and hamstrings of the straight leg. Breathe into the upper right ribs. Oh, the joy. Feels so good. Some of you probably does not feel good. On the left side, it does not feel good for me. This side, the right side of my rib cage opening feels delicious. And that's one of the things you want to, continuously observe. It can be really interesting to see, my right side being really tight, right rib cage, right obliques really tight, left one was too open. And so by observing in your practice, rather than complacent, you become content with what the work is. So rather than just accepting my right side is tighter than my left, I actually accept the work that I need to do in order to even the two sides out. Hope that makes sense. So rather than accepting that I'm out of balance, accept that I have work to do to bring myself toward balance. Okay, that's what we're talking about with Santosha today and contentment. Okay, so now turn towards your bent leg. You can use your opposite hand here. This arm spins inwards. So that's why we were really, this external rotation we were doing by pressing the pinky edge of the palm into each other here, in those was rotating or activating the infraspinatus, some of the infraspinatus, but some of the muscles of the rotator cuff that externally rotate the humerus and that create that heat and building up. Now we're doing the opposite, internally rotating using a muscle called subscapularis, the opposer of the infraspinatus, and seeing if you can let the infraspinatus relax a little bit. You can't really think about that. Don't worry. I'm just kind of giving that information for those of you that are anatomy nerds. Okay. And then slowly, guiding it back. Now, if you can't grab, you grab your pants or whatever, but you start to turn first. Then, let's see, my right side is a little tight today. So I just coax it in slowly. Okay. Then side bend a little bit. Little back bend will help the shoulder. Still active in the left leg. My wife and I were doing some farm work over the weekend, literally shoveling poop. You know how that goes. Most of you probably don't. But, you shovel on one side, and so half the body gets tight. Forget about the other side. Okay, come on out. All right, one more pose before we get into our peak posture here. Samakonasana or Upavista Konasana. Now, here's to really answer the question of groins back. This is a good indication. Wherever you can take your legs here is typically mostly the end range. Now, if you think about Warrior 2, this is called abduction with the legs, by the way. The front leg of Warrior 2 is abducted. So if you press your pelvis forward, you'd be pressing deeper into abduction, which a lot of you can go a pretty decent amount, right? But if you think of this is my Warrior 2. If I press the pelvis forward, I'm using gravity to stretch, and that usually means I'm dumping into the joints. But if I move it back, it's more accurate to what my
range of motion actually is. Now I can do full splits with the legs out to the side, but what happens is the femur bones tend to press forward towards the hip joint. And so I really have to actually do the opposite of that, is pull the legs toward each other and send the femur bones back so that I don't press the head of the femur into the front of the joint. Now, this is for everybody. Whenever you go in extreme in one direction, what happens at where the joint, where the bones meet the actual joints, is that they tend to start pressing out of the sockets. And so we always want to suck them back in. So I think about pulling the femur heads back in toward the sockets as we bow forward here in a straddle. Okay, so move your pubic bone between your thighs and kind of slide your inner groins back. Now, when you do that, your thighs will tend to roll in like this. So you have to employ the opposing muscles, externally rotate the thigh bones so that the toes stay facing up, but think about sending your pubic bone between your legs. Okay, now I pull my feet toward each other and think about moving the front of my thigh bones back into the hip sockets. Okay, and what that does is it deepens the femur in the hip socket, giving me more range of motion to actually tilt, but it requires a bit more strength. Okay, now those of you that want to go one step further, you can start to lean to one side and do a side bend here. Okay, and that will prepare you a little bit more for your bound Trikonasana. And then you would lean to the other side. Okay. You can also, the more beginner phase of that would be something like this. Nice and easy, which might be really intense. I'm saying nice and easy. If you're up here, it's probably really intense and not so easy. Again, Santosha, accepting the work ahead, accepting the actions, the challenges that we face along our path. Okay, coming on out of that, and let's just take elbows to inner knees and squeeze the knees up into the hands just like so. So you activate the adductors again. And let's move into our bound Trikonasana posture for our final. I know I kind of did things out of order. That's like the cool down and then the peak pose. That's very much out of order of what I would normally do, but those cool down postures really going to help us with that bound Trikonasana because of the amount of range of motion we need in the adductors and hamstrings there. Okay, so what you could do is have a strap, loop it, and pass it around the backside. I'll show you from the backside first so you can see what happens with the strap. Okay. We always go in with bent knees so that when you go in with straight leg, you risk the amount of gravity that you put on that could injure the hamstrings or the adductors. So we go in with bent legs, we send the groins back, and we come on down as if we're doing humbled warrior. The strapped arm passes the strap around, and you can put your hands in the loop. Now, turn your chest face downward and pull the strap apart with your hands, and you're in bound side angle. Now, the next step, and this is very important, I hope you're not doing this with me, but watching, a lot of people will force straightening the front leg and overdo it. Instead, start to curl back around and look at your toes. Like, see how I kind of sent the hips forward again? So I started with them way back for range of motion. Now I send them forward a little bit, the opposite of what I've been saying, not all the way, just a little bit. And then I start to look at my front foot and straighten any amount, which for most of us is going to be very bent. Okay, so I'm going to show you from the front side, and I'll show you without the strap this round on the other leg. So I start with my humbled warrior, essentially. Side angle, humbled warrior. Groins back. And the reason why is because in order to get this full posture, I really got to get low in order to get a bind. Okay. Now, the back foot in this variation, I like to turn it in more. That gives me more range of motion at the adductors. The more open, the more it's going to stretch. The more closed is going to give me more range of motion. I take my bind by getting clear of the thigh. See how I can move my arm freely? That's important. Then I place the hand on the back and the other hand right on top. And it's like this. Okay. Rest the wrist if possible. Otherwise, clasp your fingers if not. Okay. Now, I start to send the hips forward, the opposite of everything I've said so far, and look at my front heel or toe for balance. That's key. Okay, looking at the front foot for balance, and then slowly from your sit bone, kicking down through the heel. Okay, you could also do this. See how I'm not doing it with the bind? This is also really great. You prime the hip like this, okay, just like this, and staying bowed to the best of your ability, and then binding. Okay, that's the other option. And there we are, a little back bend to finish it off. Okay, so let's try it out. Let's see. If you are taking the strap, bring the strap in your left hand, and you're going to place it, place your hand in the loop. We take side angle with the back toes turned in. Okay, side angle more like warrior 1 feet, but heels in line still. And then your strap is ready for you. Now you kind of do a humbled warrior thing. Let's try it this way first. Okay, so take your right hand down and look at your right foot. Once your shoulder's down below as deep as you can go, just prime the leg a little bit, maybe even flexing, and just kind of move a little bit, not deep into stretch, just a little movement. Okay, I think that will help you out significantly. All right, and then once you're ready, you can take your hands in the loop, pull the strap apart, and lay back over your leg, straightening any amount. If you're not taking the strap, then you can do the bind back here, either clasping the hands or placing the wrist on top of the palm. Little back bend finishes off the pose. And you're still pressing, using your buttock muscles, pressing down into the heel. All right, and then coming on out of that, pause for a moment and feel the heat and the energy that rushes right back down. The prana rushes down the thigh. Feeling what you've created. Okay. One thing that's important is not to put the effort in stretching, but to put the effort in strengthening. Effort in stretching is like trying to force outside forces to adhere to our belief systems or thoughts, trying to control things that we can't control. We can't control our flexibility. That takes time and it takes repetition. What we can control is gaining strength, which also takes time and repetition as well. But by trying to control our flexibility, we cause injury. By trying to control our strength, we build strength. Okay, so bend the knee, come on down again. If you're taking your strap, you can do that. Your back heel goes down, and you start with humbled warrior, essentially. Okay, then we just prime. You can see how I bend the back knee even. You can prime a little bit with the back knee, going back and forth, you know, kind of a little movement and trying to get low here. You'll notice from that priming of the hip, you'll get a little more range of motion. It'll be a little more free, less stiff about it. Okay. And then I typically start with a bent knee and bind my arms and then straighten any amount that I can, moving the back heel back. But you could also just straighten any amount that you can and then go for the bind afterwards, which tends to be harder to get the bind depending on your shoulder flexibility. Baddha Trikonasana. All right, coming on down. Taking the strap away here. Come lay on your back and, oops, make sure, yeah, okay. Let's just make sure the hamstrings are active and return back so they're not overstretched. Press your buttocks to the sky. Pull your heels towards your butt. Activating the glutes of the hamstrings. Press your head back into the ground. Lastly, you can squeeze your inner ankles toward each other or shins toward each other, activating the adductors. Okay, and then release.
What I'm going to recommend for today is, since you just did that internal rotation of the arms, is actually to let the palms for Shavasana be face up in like a cactus shape to externally rotate the arms. Okay, to undo that as a form of balancing out the muscular system. And in your thigh bones, if you'd like, you can do constructive rest like so, where your thighs stay internally rotated, feet wide, knees knocked in. These are just options and guidelines. You can do standard Shavasana if that feels best for you. Let's take a full breath in. Exhale it out. Now, with all that action, all of that effort, again, that contentment with the steps that we need to take, and then sitting in the heat of it, the tapas, we also want to reserve time to regenerate and rejuvenate. To rebuild our strength, to appreciate the force of energy that is already pulsing through us. The part of us that is unchangeable, which is that consciousness. So we do so in practices like Shavasana, in times that we rest during the day. This is just as important. We just want to be intentional with our choices. That right now we intend to release, to rest, and to be fully in the now. Bring your breath back to your awareness. Awaken the fingers, the toes. Stretch the arms. Roll to your right side. Come up to a seated position. Santosha, contentment with our karma, the challenges we face and the actions we take because of them. In alignment with our dharma, our life's purpose, and the structures of our life within our family, within our society, within our friendships, work. Content with or acceptance of the journey ahead. Placing the palms together, front of the heart. Thank you all so very much for your practice today and for stepping into the practice of on your yoga mat and for reflecting upon how this practice can trickle outward into our daily life. I know that takes courage, patience, it takes effort, it takes willingness, it takes an open mind. These are all qualities that you and everyone here are exercising. So I thank you so very much for that. It's a true pleasure to be amongst other humans that are willing to do the same and that inspire me to do the same in my life. Namaste. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I have an Instagram live with a friend of mine. His name is John, and he's a biracial male who is has a really, really interesting story that I think you're just going to be blown away to hear. And I wanted to share that with everybody that follows me so that you can have some openness to new perspectives. And it helped me with opening my perspective. So, and it's still helping me. So I wanted to share his story with you and also just have a chat with him and get to know him more publicly. So this is something that I think is kind of fun to do with the platform of the internet, is that we can connect to each other and share that conversation with others. So 2 p.m. on my Instagram feed, the Yogi Mat. You know where to find me. And anything else that I have to say? Oh, that's Eastern time, Eastern Standard Time. So if you're watching this live, it's in like a half hour. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I sent you a discount code for these yoga mats and it's still available. You have another week to use it, I believe. So if you're looking for a yoga mat or yoga props or water bottles, I think they even have clothing at discounted rates already. Plus, you get 20% off using the Yoga Mat 20 as your discount code. So that link was in the last email. Let me know if you didn't get it and I'll send it to you again. All right, everybody, take care.